Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Who here's done their stint in the psych ward?
Hey/X/. I'm going to post this here since sharing experiences with psychotic illness isn't welcome on other boards. Basically, here's what happened. Was 17, am 22 now. Was labeled an extremist Pepe mode. Parents find out that I was browsing various meme sites and talked to people on there, as well as made threats to Russian politicians and stuff. It was actually even worse. Multiple people online told me that they reported me to the Secret Service because the threat shit I did was out of control. On top of that, was friends with those who got banned for high-profile cybercrime, which made the news. Did that because I was psychotic, angry, and unmedicated at that time. I take medicine and don't do shit like this anymore. Parents start lecturing me every day about this, etc. Some time goes by. Visit my psychiatrist. Tell him that I feel as though I'm under police surveillance and that my internet connection is being actively monitored. Explain that I feel this way because my internet became incredibly slow, and sometimes there are slow-moving cars apparently following me. He tells me that I'm right. Says that my internet connection is being monitored, and he even told me what YouTube video I watched recently says that I'm currently being classified as a terrorist. Freak out. Get even more psychotic. Develop a delusion that I can talk to the Secret Service via Google searches. In the searches, say that I'm very unwell and need to be hospitalized. 3 minutes later, cops arrive in a van. Ask me and my mom mundane questions. Then ask me, do you like your internet service provider? Does it work well? The hell was it supposed to mean? They leave. My parents tell me that I'm going to the hospital. I agree. And here I am now, recovering from psychosis. How much of this was delusion and hallucination? How much of it was true? It's hard to know what was true or not if you weren't taking medication at the time this happened. I would be 100% sure that everything was a delusion, if not for these inconsistencies. My parents visit me at the hospital. Ask them what my diagnosis is. Dad stands aside, says, "We don't know, and neither do any doctors in the hospital. Only those above them do." Another time. Dad says during the visit, "Why are you unhappy with the place? Remember when you were asking for a place with a big plasma TV, Xbox, a blackboard, and separate furniture and all that? You've got everything here. This is exactly what I was asking to be in the hospital when I asked to be hospitalized via Google. I only asked this on Google and never mentioned it in real life, ever. Walk on my expensive watch at night. Was clumsy and sedated. It's all broken and messed up as a result." During the visit, Mom asks what happened to the watch. Tell her. A few days later, the watch is brand new, in the same place I left it after it being broken. That place was in the hospital, and parents are forbidden from accessing it. Also, my parents denied ever taking my watch to a watch repairman. Are these inconsistencies false memories or some shit? This is what I tend to think. I guess I will keep posting about my psychotic experiences on /X/ despite knowing that they're false, because it allows me to vent and get rid of obsessive thinking while entertaining some readers.
They sure did get a lot of bang for their buck, based on whatever $2,000 a day they were paying to enslave me at Peachford, all while refusing to hardly give me $2,000 a month and willing to pay the hospital for up to 6 months. For that money, they bought about 5 to 15 minutes of my FaceTime with the doctor, whose diagnosis would be entered into the record, and maybe longer on the first visit when she was asking for my information. In terms of man-hours, look out how many they put into it, like 1 or 2 man-hours with that doctor. Then consider the disproportionately large amount of man-hours, much greater than the only 1 or 2 man-hours that went into the diagnosis that are apparently required to refute the diagnosis, which was based on as much as 2 hours of case study. If the labor in showing it was tantamount to 1 or 2 man-hours of work, then it is illogical to require a vastly higher standard of work to demonstrate that my theory does have merit, and that the government is refusing to acknowledge it via a conspiracy of silence. What the judge says, this 1 or 2 hours of work by the doctor needs to be balanced against thousands of man-hours, showing the theory is correct. Although it was sufficient for her to ignore the theory altogether when she deemed it wrong, you must counterbalance her 2 hours of work with thousands of hours of work. Your simple arithmetic demonstrations that you call proofs are not convincing to the court. I need you to present the consensus findings of the entire professional field of physics to counterbalance the opinion of this doctor. She says you have paranoid schizophrenia, and it is not sufficient for you to fully demonstrate that your theory has merit with only a commensurate investiture of effort. Although I must presume that you are of sound mind for me to have you in my court here today, I am somehow totally persuaded by this doctor's 2 hours of work.
I was visited by something years back. It made me stay up for almost 10 days and taught me stuff I still don't understand. While I was walking the path, I was given the ability, or so I thought, to read symbols of the earth. It's a secret language laid out in physical objects in every place on earth. They tell the same stories, what is and what will become. I was led to a graveyard and told to walk in the road and read the symbols. They told me I was going to a mental hospital soon, really no surprise. But the road also described what would happen there, and I would meet someone. My experience in the hospital fit the description to a T. I did meet that person, and he much of the same experiences and was told much of the same things. I've never had an experience like that again, and it's understandably haunted me ever since then. I wish I could say I just went nuts, but the accuracy of predicting such future events has left me more confused and stressed out about everything else that happened. Also, the first guy I saw when admitted, don't know his job, some kind of nurse that assessed what I'm there for, was hostile as hell and treated me like I was not human. He kept yelling at me, asking what kind of drugs I was on. I kept telling him I wasn't on drugs. Finally, he gets the blood work back that confirmed my story about staying up for a very long time. Even though I was still dreaming while awake, I was able to calmly and articulately explain to him that he should be ashamed of himself for treating complete strangers that way, especially the most vulnerable. He admitted he was apologized and started crying. Also, when I was cleared to leave by the doctor later on, I told a lady working the desk, she has control over the security doors in and out of the ward, that I would like to leave, and she said her shift was about to end and to wait until the next day. I explained to her that I lived down the street and I wanted to go home, and that she knew I was cleared to leave. I told her if she didn't let me out, her and the hospital were basically guilty of kidnapping. She threw a fit, did some shit on the computer, and let me leave. Also, some random nurse told my dad while I was there I would be a perfect candidate for some outpatient program. I never saw her before. The program ended up being a series of brief educational classes on proper nutrition and how to quit abusing drugs. The thing was completely generic, useless stuff to anyone that isn't an addict. All in all, mental hospitals are trash. They're not designed to help people. They're designed to make money. The people working in them, although there were good ones that actually care, operate behind closed doors away from the public's eyes. The only people that really see what's going on are employees and undesirables. Conditions are ripe for exploitation and abuse, and both most certainly occur.
What visited you? Can you hook me up? I could use a bit of the madness.
Sure, I'll tell you how it happened. First, you gotta start meditating before bed while face up. I started to do this because I had trouble sleeping, kept trying to sink into deeper and deeper states until I finally fell asleep. I imagined an anchor falling through the water, swinging gently side to side till it hit the bottom. When it hits the bottom, go deeper. Keep doing this until you're in the deep. You can't be aware of your body. That's the goal. Do this for a while until weird shit starts happening with your crown chakra. Imaging the tingling swirling around and around, opening the hole, wider and wider. I think the crown chakra somehow connects you to a higher plane. Then, before bed, imagine that you're making a ball of energy above your head. Let it swirl and grow stronger. Put your wishes into it. I wish to win the lottery. Then let the ball fly into the sky, drifting behind space to the realm where God is. Keep doing this. If you're lucky, really subjective here, you'll receive a response from what I first described as the big dog, a very powerful hominid-shaped spirit that might come into your head and be in you. He'll berate you for wishing for dumb shit and then try to explain what really matters and what the world really is. All the while, you will shit bricks and freak out, understanding you're in the presence of an actual higher power. He did describe himself as the angel known as Metatron. It's hard to explain, but you know he is old and can feel his convictions. Not a guy you would ever dream of messing with. Then there may be others that come down and weird shit will start happening. I can't actually guarantee any of this will happen, but it's how it happened to me. I'm sure that now you have a description of the food. You can just ask to talk to him like in a prayer or something. He's pretty powerful and can easily break into our world. I'm pretty sure himself and others like him live in a realm where everything is knowable, and knowledge and messages just kind of get to them telepathically. He had friends too, and they do protect churches. Something interesting too is that I never saw his face, and at the end of the journey when I was dreaming while awake, I could see one of them, and it was turning its face away from me as if to hide it, and refused to show me its face. I mention this because I remember hearing that they would basically hang out with King David like girl, and he would never show him his face. They are in higher densities. They understand reality on levels of abstraction that would make a human brain go mad, or rather it's not abstraction for them, but it would require immense intelligence to understand the complex systems as a human. Thus deep abstraction from our perspective. Firstly, they exist in eternity. They see time as a whole. That's the fourth density. Fifth gets into seeing alternate timelines. Sixth sees whole sets, seventh sets of sets, and so on. Each density encompasses all the dimensions and knowledge of the previous.
I've had a similar episode where I also thought I could talk to the police, but instead of Google search, I thought they could read it through iPhone notes. It was one of the most terrifying experiences of my life. It was a drug-induced psychosis, but some of the shit I thought was happening to me during the period of psychosis stuck with me for a couple months of the episode. But I can say now that looking back at it clear-headed and sober was that all I thought that was happening to me wasn't at all, and could be explained logically. Your mind can be your own worst enemy if you let it. To give you an example of how bad your own mind can be interpreting things you experience while in a state of psychosis, is that I thought I had a convo with my father while he was pretending to be asleep when in actuality he was asleep and I was really fucked.
I self-admitted to a psych ward. 2 psychiatrists talked with me, did some tests and said, "WTF are you doing here? Go home, you're fine. We're discharging you now, GTFO from here." The food was surprisingly good. I mostly played electronic piano in there, also some 8-pool billiards with a hot young nurse. The stories of folks in there were 10 out of 10 scary. I wanted to end things very badly. Decided that if I'm going to an hero, might as well check into a psych ward and give a shot to some anti-self-end therapy or something. No harm in giving it a shot, even if there was an extremely low chance of it having any effect, as could always end things afterwards. They said I was being overly stressed and should relax more, do some breathing exercises, yada yada, and gave me some antidepressants. Also said that when people want to die, they don't think rationally about it and they doubted I would do anything. Few days after leaving, I poisoned myself. Stuff that in theory should kill a horse but did absolutely nothing to me, even though I passed out puking up blood about 8 hours after ingesting the poison. But I woke up 100% fine. I guess the pills were counterfeited, in theory that should kill a horse. Took a mixture of poisons targeting 4 different internal organs. I researched it heavily beforehand. The first attempt not going as planned didn't change my mind. I tried to stab my neck with broken glass, but the glass just shattered and didn't even leave a dent in my neck or hand. Very weird and unexpected. Tried the same with a nail. The nail bent and my neck was fine. Cheap Chinese shit. Then decided to quit messing around with pills and stabs and overdose on neurotoxin. While taking the neurotoxin, I had a, for the lack of better word, mystical experience, which changed my mind and made me rush to a nearby hospital where I collapsed on the floor partially paralyzed. But again, after about 24 hours, I was 100% healthy again, and they discharged me. Didn't try to harrowing again since the mystical experience thing, but that will change like tomorrow. 5th time's the charm, I guess. Also, as this is clearly a data mining thread, might provide more details because more data to mine. After the wave of hero attempts, I had a new start in life, moved to a different place, went to therapy, started a new career, and everything was going pretty sweet for me. Got a new job basically just based on an IQ test, got a sweet salary, very sweet prospects for the future, was getting promoted very fast, was thinking about getting a house, getting married with my GF and getting a kid. Everything was going sweet. Then I fucked it all up. I saved about 50% of my salary, and after a few months I got thousands of cash sitting in my account, not really doing anything. I thought I should invest it to escape inflation slowly eating it away. Being an absolute stupid, I got involved in cryptocurrencies and the whole bullshit story of it. I paid more and more attention to it, to the tech, the bullshit story, the profits. My thousands quickly turned to hundreds of thousands. For a few days in a row, I made more money trading crypto in a day than I made at my job in a year. So being an absolute idiot, I quit my job to do crypto trading full time. Soon after the bubble burst, I got wrecked. Scammy exchanges started to steal money from customers, me included. About 1/2 of what was left of my dollar was stolen this way. Got depressed, lost drive and motivation. Was thinking about re-entering the job market, but being dumb again, I was waiting for the market to bounce back. Later I found out that almost all of the crypto projects were founded by either ex-employees of the US Department of Defense or people coming from families high up in the US military. This was kind of a final nail in the coffin for me, as I really believed in the bullshit story, doing the good thing, cyberpunk movement to make the world a better place. I really believed in it and engaged in crypto because of this. Finding out the crypto story is all bullshit broke something in me. Also, I got way too many people involved in crypto, and they all got financially wrecked. This really just shattered me. Zero drive, zero motivation, constant self-termination thoughts. Was waiting for maybe something to happen, for this miasma to pass, but it never did. Now I ran out of money completely, have zero drive to find a job, can't pay for rent and will go in hero tomorrow or the day after. Been preparing the anhero for about 3 months now. Fuck cryptocurrencies.
Here's my story. I was 21, 25 now. Big into political activism and buying drugs online and selling them. Sell some tranq to a kid. Kinda just eyeballed the dose. The scale wasn't sensitive enough. He freaks out. Gets popped in jail. His mom starts freaking out on me. Start freaking out that I'm gonna get busted. Talk to my advisor about becoming a CIA plant. She says she'll arrange it. Start writing some long diatribe about philosophy on my laptop. Laptop fries. Take it to the repair shop. They say they'll have it in a week. Come back a week later. They claim they don't have it. Streetlights start going out when I'm under them. Unknown numbers start calling me. Go to hospital. Tell them I work for the CIA. They kinda just laugh at me and give me tons of antipsychotics and anti-anxieties.
Be me, 17 years ago, 16 years old, in a hospital for a broken collarbone after a skiing incident, cramped together with a titanium plate, recovering after operation, feeling okay. No gypsum. But leaving for a week for observation is a protocol in our country. Friends and parents visiting, bringing shit tune of sweets and whatnot, that will eventually go to the dumpster. When bored, socializing with everyone willing to talk on the floor. The hospital is a tall post-Soviet building, probably the first few floors built during the Austro-Hungary era. One schoolmate visiting, not particularly my friend, but someone with whom I hang out when I'm out of options. Dude considered me his best friend for some reason, despite we have what I'd call different life values. But that's not directly related to the incident. Says he is also here to visit his grandpa on the 10th floor. I am in the trauma wing that was on the 3rd floor. Sure, let's go together. Not like I have many things to do. Enter the elevator with one of the older nurses or sanitation workers. Buttons up to the 8th floor, asks how to get to the 10th. She mumbles something like, "Stupid teenagers, stop bothering me." Whatever old hag going to the 8th floor looks like some archive or improvised warehouse. All doors closed, not much going on. heading towards the staircase. Two kids in like elementary age, 6 or 7, bursting on us from there, laughing. Seems out of place. As we later discussed, we both felt something strange about them the moment we saw. But maybe the dull hospital wing setting affected us. Asked them for some reason if we can use that staircase to reach the 10th floor. They laughed and said something that can translate both to, "You can't go to the 10th floor," or "You can't reach 10th floor," or "You have no business on the 10th floor," and moved away, laughing. Okay, whatever. Stairs lead directly to the hospital roof, covered with that rubber roofing material, with occasional garbage, dishes, wires, vents, your typical post-Soviet building roof. In the middle of the roof, there is like a building on top of the building, but ruined, around 1 or 2 floors tall. Only 2 walls left, and stairs are in very bad condition. We go around the remaining walls, something like the pick, but stairs go around the corner. Out of curiosity or young stupidity, decided to ascend. Don't know what we hope to achieve. It was more like crawling than walking, due to the stairs' bad condition, but also for some reason with each stair, the air became slightly colder, and near the end it required a heroic amount of effort to make a trivial movement, almost like all muscles paralyzed. Those kids heard somewhere laughing at us, but wind moves the sound that way it feels like it comes from above, not beyond. Looking down, looks like 5 floors below, not 1, head spinning. Screw it, let's crawl back. Successfully descended, in silence, taking the elevator. Sitting outside sharing WTF just happened, and if we both saw, heard, and felt the same things. Schoolmate's phone rings. Sony Ericsson K750i. Remember being jealous to this day. But now I understand his family situation, consisting of mom and aunt living in one apartment, who was just bad with finances. Aunt says his grandpa passed away and is at home preparing for last rites. Some local Orthodox rituals. While thinking of some supportive words, notice those 2 kids boarded a bus like your school field trip, but couldn't see anything behind the windows. Maybe it was tinted, and it departed from the hospital parking lot. This occurrence haunts me to this day. I couldn't sleep tonight reflecting on it again, and figured out that day I kinda accepted death and my mortality. Just typed it for myself, because it feels like my brain is altering some memories with feelings every year. Also, schoolmate moved to Moscow before Russian-Ukrainian war, where he works as bartender. But I'm 99% he's abusing drugs, and his mom doing time for state treason. Just typed it for myself because it feels like my brain is altering some memories with feelings every year. Also, schoolmate moved to Moscow before Russian-Ukrainian war, where he works as bartender. But I'm 99% sure he's abusing drugs, and his mom is doing time for state treason.
I was having a psychotic episode in the ER and ended up getting restrained. The docs went through my neck and gave me enough sedative to take out an elephant, and my heart stopped and I stopped breathing. What happened is I remember getting sucked out of my body and ended up on a dark road that was wet with rain and a street lamp in the distance next to automatic sliding doors to a hospital. It was the only light in the distance. I ran into the hospital and there was a pretty lady at the front desk. I said, "I need help," and she said, "Let's help you." What happened after was therapy for me, where they were really comforting and nice to me. Every moment was amazing. I felt so at home and comfortable. In reality, I was intubated in a coma for a week while they were trying to keep me alive. When I came to, I knew this wasn't base reality. It seems real because you can feel it, but it's just a realm I reside in. Now I can't say that no one has their life flash in front of them. I didn't. But it is an experience that stays with you.
2 stints as an adult, both 1 or 2 weeks. First one was somewhat pleasant. Both stays were drug-induced psychosis, aka becoming extremely ungrounded and trying to use drugs for enlightenment. Both stints resulted in paranormal experiences like premonitions that came true years later, which made me realize it wasn't all just drug-induced nonsense. Both times doctors just threw a bunch of pills at me that made me feel dead inside and like a walking corpse. I met other people in there who had similar experiences loosely based around the paranormal and spirituality, and made me really question if the methods of treatment were anything beyond trying to silence those that caught a glimpse beyond the veil but couldn't stay grounded. I don't think the doctors even realize what the pills they prescribe actually do to people, and just blindly follow what their medical books say like good little sheep.
I didn't sleep for about a week, which obviously led to psychosis. During my psychosis, it felt like I was being guided to the hospital. It honestly felt like a test of will, something members of the elite use regularly in an attempt to break psychically gifted and/or dangerous individuals and see if they are worthy of power. Can confirm this 100%. The magazines I met plenty of schizos who, contrary to belief, were all quite intelligent. There were some who were psychic, obviously not schizo at all, but easily fooled the staff and were literally using the ward as a homeless shelter. There was some other shit too. A ton of paranormal-related stuff occurred. One guy was channeling electricity and shocked a hippie nurse, with her consent. This same guy ranted on a daily basis about how he powered the hospital by what I assume was reversing the flow of electricity during an ECG. Another guy was meditating and the lights began to flicker. 15 minutes later, he's about to leave the ward. He wasn't allowed to. And the alarm goes off and mental health staff all come rushing in from their adjacent wards and surround him, while only one male nurse speaks, too far away to hear what he's saying. Later, this fellow patient came up to me and said, "Now do you believe in more than meets the eye?" I haven't been psychotic since then, and my depression and anxiety has disappeared, stronger than ever. I'm still in somewhat regular communication with my mental health team. Bless public health care. The magazines were specifically hyper-degenerate magazines. I do a lot of degenerate shit, so I really can't talk. But the hyperbole in it was just insane. It looked like it was the January 20th, 24 edition rather than the actual date. Shit like, "Why you should cheat on your husband, I'm happier than ever." How to have successful poly relationship. How to introduce BDSM. Then shit got scarier. I noticed that often a few of these people in all the media that the hospital provided to entertain, pre-programmed TV and mags, looked, well, different. They had bloodshot eyes. I'm guessing my hallucinations were doing this. Very sharp features, squinted predator-looking eyes. It was really fucked up and quite scary. In addition, when I arrived, there was a guy there who was a meth addict who had a very similar facial phenotype as me. As I finally got to know the guy I mentioned in the previous post that was channeling electricity, he began to slowly explain the true state of the world through cryptic symbolism. He told me that he was a half human and half something else. And although he did not mention reptilians or aliens, he made it clear that the elite of Earth were made up of genetically, emotionally, spiritually, and morally superior individuals who were not entirely human, at least compared to the average person. This was interesting because before I went to the hospital, my psychotic delusions included the idea that any kinds of abilities or gifts have the potential to end the human race. See Robert Oppenheimer. For what happens when you have hyper-intelligent individuals with lacking morality and a privileged upbringing, and the illusion of freedom of the average person must be maintained, so the human race does not go extinct. The same guy that was meditating with the flickering lights also claimed to be a hacker and bounty hunter. Specifically, he was employed to track down and subdue dangerous individuals who accidentally awaken their psychic powers whilst in psychosis and have the potential to injure members of the public. I believe the reason why the elite promote degeneracy is because they are trying to ensure the fastest possible uplifting of all humans from poverty and to increase the starting equity of every new citizen of Earth. By removing the taboos and then commercializing them, they cause death and destruction and then sell the treatment, just like they sold the cause. This is simply a necessary evil in order to keep the global economy growing and to remove the influence of religion so people are free to be even bigger consumers, which will accelerate change even faster. Don't get me wrong, I really don't care what you are. But it's just hilarious how obvious it is that humans are being manipulated towards those aforementioned areas, and yet none of them do anything about it.
I did 2 stints for not very long. I can't remember the code that they used, now that I think about it, but after some research, it is either a 5585 or 5150. None of those ring a bell, so who knows? First time was right after I ran away from home, when I was 15 or so. I had a girlfriend that was my main source of most of the shit I did wrong back then. Anyways, after running away and getting picked up by the cops later on, I, for whatever reason, wanted a psychological evaluation done on myself. My guardian at the time took me to the hospital, and after some really typical "are you suicidal" questions, they deemed me a harm to myself and possibly others. Nothing special about it. The psych ward was nice. Great food, normal therapy bullshit. Spent about a week there. Saw some kid get the booty juice. So after all that, I came home and had to deal with the court and all the shit for runaway charges. They put me on probation and put a restraining order on me against my girlfriend. We still saw each other after that. So normal teenage shit happened, and she started seeing other guys. That did not sit too well with me, and I denied it until one day I was scrolling through Facebook and saw she was with another dude taking pics and stupid shit. Decided I wanted to fuck up my body and downed a lot of Tylenol. My guardian finds me about 30 minutes later and takes me to the hospital. Don't know why. I tell them what I took, and they start giving me charcoal and mucomist. Spent about a week in the hospital. After that, sent me off to another psych ward. Not so bad bunch of crazies in there, but all good.
Yo, I work in one as a psychiatric nurse. I give the patients smokes and look the other way when they break BS rules. We are moving towards getting people well, and I tell people daily they need to pull themselves out of their suffering, as 9 times out of 10, they've had a hand in getting themselves mentally unwell. I also like to shill Jordan Peterson. Honestly, I've seen such dramatic turnarounds. I feel we are doing God's work. People thank me when they leave, and the ones I put a lot of time into stay well. I've also known all about conspiracies thanks to 10-ish years of /x/ I can keep up with schizotypal conversations. I tell people that their reality will be hard to prove to the doctors, so just nod for them and deal with this shit on your own. Narrative therapy and motivational interviewing works better than meds by far. Good luck to all you bros in the thread. If you never come to my ward, I'd get you to change your mind about us all being evil LOL.
Fuck that. If you can hide your symptoms, then do it. A psychiatric hold is a permanent stain on your record. Doctors will see it and take you less seriously. Depending on your location, it can even come up in a background check for a job. Not to mention the abuse and neglect of psychiatric patients you will endure during your stay. The purpose of the psych ward is to scare mentally ill people into maintaining the illusion of normality so we don't bother the NPCs. If you succumb to your mental illness, you will be punished and cast aside. There is no rehabilitation, there is no treatment, only cruelty. My dad endured this torture over and over again, and it killed me to watch him try to get help, only to have his hand proverbially cut off by society over and over again. Fuck that.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check the Odyssey and Rumble pages for separate archives of previous broadcasts.